Welcome everybody to day 2 of the Canadian Email Summit. I am very excited to see all of the content today. And I'm actually really excited for our first speaker of the day, Phil Hill. Phil and I just met recently, actually, and he comes highly recommended as a speaker. So I'm very excited to see the content that he's put together for us, especially as it comes to managing your CRM, using your CRM to grow, and just interacting with your customers on a one-to-one relationship. Some of the things that DoorDash does as a customer is actually pretty cool in regards to tailored content and what they're sending to you on a regular basis. So not only as a professional in the industry, but as a consumer, I'm excited to see what Phil has to say for us today. So Phil, the stage is yours, and I will come back at the end for questions unless you want to take them as you go. Either way, feel free, and I will see you near the end of your time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All righty. Hello, my name is Phil Hill, and I'd like to start off with a little thought exercise to get our brains percolating on CRM process, email marketing, and everything. So I want you all to think of a time where you're at work and you might have made a mistake. Maybe it was you sent an email out without a subject line, or maybe it was you caught a copy error and you had a misspelling in your email, or even worse, you sent a promo out without it being set up, so people weren't able to use the promo, or you sent the promo out to the wrong audience and you cost the company a bunch of money. So I should have probably had a trigger warning before that, because I know that gut feeling that we all get when we make a mistake at work or inevitably send an email out, but that you can't unsend with an error in it. And we feel very disappointed. We need our team to pick us back up and get us going again and let us know that we're sending emails. It's not the end of the world, but we still want to do what we can to send very high quality emails and give our users a great experience. And so that's why we're here today, to help you mitigate that feeling, how to avoid having that feeling, and when it does inevitably come up, because we're all human, how to pinpoint the issues and move forward quicker and resolve them. My name is Phil Hill. Like I said, I'm an associate manager of retention marketing at DoorDash. And, I also have a full life and everything. So I wanted to point out these 3 things in my life: that I'm a plant lover, I'm obsessed with fantasy football, and I am really into road biking. The reason I bring up these 3 things is because process isn't limited to just our time at work. For fantasy football, I listen to a bunch of podcasts to get up to date on all the players and everything, and know who to start and sit and trade and all this stuff. I won't bore you with that. For road biking, I wanted to ride around Lake Washington. I'm out in Seattle. It's about 50 miles around, and day 1, I could barely finish this easy 7-mile ride. I had to train my legs, train my shoulders to support myself on the bike and everything. It took a process to get up to that 50 miles. It's not just a Rome built in a day, get to the 50 miles right at the beginning. But plants, on the other hand, plants is a huge process. I've got 50 plants, and a lot of times working from home, I had a background of greenery behind me, and I got compliments on having a green thumb. Reality is I've killed plenty of plants, unfortunately. But to get away from killing so many plants, I created a spreadsheet for my process. I created a list of all the names of the types of plants, but also my given names to them, how to water them, what kind of sunlight they needed. And I started documenting the schedules that I was watering them on, so I could get in the habit of it and appear to have the greenest of thumbs. So whether you have hobbies or chores at home or just something you're really into, there's process that you've injected into your life as well outside of work. So don't shy away from the process at work. It makes things easier. So today I'm going to walk through a few things around process. First, we're going to look at the benefits of it. Then we're going to look at when you need process, who at work is going to love process, how to create a process, and then we're going to walk through an example together of how to create a process. Then we'll do a little Q&A, and then I'll leave you with a few final thoughts. So what are the benefits of process? Today, I just want to talk to you about how you're going to save yourself, save your time, and save your mind. First off, when we're talking about saving yourself, your process is an extension of you. It allows you to be in rooms when you're not there. It allows you to support your cross-functional partners without having to physically answer the question or respond to a Slack. They can self-serve and find out answers because you've documented your process. It allows your team to work without you while you're not there. So think of when you want to take that wonderful beach vacation and get away for a week. Your team can work without you there much more easily when you have a process in place and they have something to point back to function without you there. And inevitably, when you leave a team and you're making transition docs for your team to function without you while they backfill your role or support the next person and setting them up for success, your processes will help that transition go a lot smoother. So next I want to talk about saving your time. When you're creating a process, you realize all the bits and pieces, all the nitty-gritty details that are in the process. You realize how you can stack them next to each other and be as efficient as possible with your time. You realize which steps can overlap with each other and can be happening simultaneously so that you can be quicker and faster between you and your other cross-functional partners. When you also have process, you can inject in repetition. Some of these things that we do in like a week to week, month to month, maybe quarter to quarter, we spend a little bit of time at the beginning of each one of those things trying to figure out like what we need to do each time. Instead of doing that, just templatize those types of processes so that you can just hit the ground running. For example, there's something that came up every once in a while I was working at Rover, which was we had to respond to natural disasters. We needed to respond quickly. It took us about a day and a half to do that when I first started, but we needed to be quicker. So I got it down to about 4 hours, which was fairly quick for like 6 teams that were involved. We identified like who needed to do what at the same time, and we're able to templatize that whole process so everyone knew what a crisis was needing to be responded to, and we were able to go immediately rather than figuring this out each time and spending half a day doing that. Instead, we were executing from the beginning. Lastly, about saving your mind, we do a lot of thinking at work. We do a lot of creative thinking. I want you to stop forgetting to do those routine tasks. Set yourself reminders. Reminders are a very simple type of process for yourself that you can implement that'll save your mind that time of thinking of, did I forget something? Also, I want you to stop double, triple checking your work, because you should have a process in place when your work is done, when you can give yourself that thumbs up to go ahead and press send on your email or SMS, what have you. So when do you need process? Below, I've like put in a few quotes that you might hear that may signal to you that you might need a little process injected into your life at work. So if you find yourself saying something like, how do we miss a 3rd copy error this month in our emails? That may be a sign that you need to inject a little bit of process around QA in your emails and signal to you that you should do better at sending high quality emails and make checks and balances for that specific thing that you're missing multiple times in 1 month. If you find your cross-functional partner saying things like, why does it take so long to send just 1 email? And I know if like any of you have sent like emails one time and you have cross-functional partners, you've heard this phrase. I've heard it so many times. The problem here is that maybe your process hasn't been socialized with your cross-functional partners. In this instance, like, you know that there's a lot of work that goes into sending one email. Your cross-functional partners think it's an easy lever to pull, and that is just an email, just write the copy and send. But there's so much more that goes into that. And so sharing that information with them and that transparency will go a long way in helping your partnership grow. And then if you hear your boss saying something like, hey, don't forget the monthly update that needs to be sent next week, your boss might likely have a reminder on their calendar that the monthly update needs to go out. You can transfer that reminder to your calendar instead and create a little bit more trust with your manager, because likely the reason they're saying that is because you've let them down on that before. And so just create that trust with them, build it up over time, and be more transparent about how you're holding yourself accountable for that goal. So if you hear this and you see these red flags come up, I want you to stop. It's going to be uncomfortable because, like in CRM and email marketing, our natural instinct is to go, go, go. We want to create more emails, send them to more people, go use all the calendar space that we can to send to our customers, within reason, of course. But in this case, I want you to stop. If something needs to go through your process that's either broken or doesn't exist, that's okay. It's going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be creating this beautiful new world. And what you're going to see is that this other thing is like slogging through the old process. But it's going to be that encouragement that you need to go ahead and finish this process. You're going to see the value that it's adding as well. And your cross-functional partners and your team are going to see that as well. So power through. It's going to be okay. And this moment of stopping what you're doing is going to help you to go faster in the future rather than continuing to go slow and treading through mud while where you are right now. So who's going to love it? You're stopping what you're doing. Who's going to love this process that you're creating? First off, you're going to love it. Your team is going to love it. And so are your partners. So you're going to have peace of mind when you inject process into your life at work. Like I was talking about, you're doing all this, spending all this time, like remembering to do things, remembering if you forgot to do something. This is going to let you know that you've checked all the boxes and move forward. You're going to be more confident in the work that you're producing. You might be so confident that you're going to be able to press send now rather than scheduling for an hour a day in advance. I like to do that sometimes just because I'm a little crazy, but it's a lot of fun to just send now because you're that confident in your work. Your team, excuse me, your team is going to see the value that you're adding with your process. Once you document it, they're going to see how much time you're saving. Once you say, for example, I updated an international campaign process for creating them, and I went from taking 6+ unknown weeks to down to 3 weeks and 3 days. And just that time savings was like, hey, we can produce 2 times as many emails. And my team is able to see that, and it's very tangible. Your team will also be able to do more. Since you're going to be able as efficient as possible, your team is going to be able to move as efficient as possible, whether you're the manager or an individual contributor. Having a process there for everyone to use is going to help everyone move faster. And your cross-functional partners, this is the real main one. Your partners are going to have realistic expectations because you'll be able to provide them with SLAs, a process doc that they can lean on and see what needs to be done in your process, where you're at in the process. Thus, they'll know how to also support you in the projects that you're creating with them. So how do you create a process? I got 6 easy steps for you today that will lead you to creating a process on your own. These can be applied to like most processes as well, with a few modifications. So first, I want you to gather any stakeholders that are involved. Some processes are just for you, like I was talking about with reminders, but most processes involve you and a few others. So if possible, call a meeting or find a way to get input from all the stakeholders involved, whether that be via email or Slack. And then I want you to identify the tasks. There's going to be tasks that need to be completed throughout your process. Be very detail oriented, no matter how small the task is, make sure it's documented. Next, you can use the RACI format to assign roles. Some processes don't need so many accountable, consulted, and informed, but just a responsible party for completing each task. But it's important at this steps you also include your SLAs and let the responsible team choose those SLAs. There's no need for you as a CRM marketer to impose an SLA on the creative team, for example. Let them determine the time that they need. Step 4 is to recruit your champions. You're gonna get everyone on board to do your process. And to do that, you'll need to have champions to help others gain adoption. It's also could be useful to do a top-down approach and have someone at like the director level or like a senior manager talk to other cross-functional teams and their senior managers to also get adoption from their entire team and have it trickle down. Step 5 is the most important part of the process, which is documenting everything that was in steps 2 and 3 so that you can move on and teach others the process. If you don't have documentation of the process, there really is no process. And step 6, which is rolling out and monitoring your process. You want to notify all your stakeholders, attach your documented process, any forms that they need to fill out, and roll it out. It's also very important to monitor at this stage because you'll want feedback. You'll want to make sure everyone's understanding your documentation. You want to make sure that the process is flowing as intended. And if there's any questions, make changes along the way. Welcome all your stakeholders on this journey. Let them own the process as much as you do. So I want to paint a picture of a before and after that we're going to walk through because we're going to create a process after this. So in this before world, I'm getting requests in this way. I'm sitting at my desk and I get a Slack. I get an email. I get in-person asks coming to me to send an email or two. The requests are in just Slack format. Sometimes people send documents. Sometimes they send an Excel sheet with an audience, or it's a Confluence page with this like long test idea. And then when they ask me how long it's going to take, I say it kind of depends. But in this after world that we're about to create, I want to get to a place where I'm getting one way, giving one way to make requests. I'm also getting one format for all the requests because I have the same questions each time. And then I also have a clear idea of SLAs that I can give back to my cross-functional partners. So in this example, we're going to create an intake process. So I need to gather all my stakeholders that are involved in this intake process. I'm going to grab the creative team representative, CRM team, that's going to be me for today, a cross-functional partner from a few different teams, product, accounting and finance, and my new business lines teams. They're going to be high volume users of this intake process. Next, I want to identify the tasks. So we've got 5 tasks identified here. You're going to make a detailed request to CRM. I'm going to be responsible for like what those details are, but the first task is making that request. Step 2 is prioritizing and adding it to the calendar. 3 is going to be a creative build. 4 is going to be the CRM build, and then 5 is analyze. So now those 5 steps need to have a responsible party. We're going to do an abbreviated version of the RACI format and just choose a responsible party and create SLAs. So first, the cross-functional partners are the ones responsible for making that detailed request. 2 of prioritizing and adding it to the CRM calendar is going to be on the CRM team, me. It's going to take 2 days. 3, the creative team is going to be responsible for doing the creative build and getting the email designed. They need 8 days, and that is up to them. So I say, okay, perfect. Once they pass it over to the CRM team, it's going to take us 4 days to build the email, attach audiences, do our full QA, and send. Once the email is sent, I'll commit to 3 days after to be able to provide the cross-functional partners full analysis of how the campaign performed. Step 4, I'm going to recruit my champions in this process. It's going to be me, the CRM manager, who also like sees some of the requests coming through and like gets requests in the same ways I was. She can push them through this new intake process. I'm also going to choose a product manager that has high influence in the product org to get them on board as well. And the creative manager. The creative manager sees some requests. They try to circumnavigate the whole process altogether and just have people request an email to be built and it lands on my desk. I'm going to have her like also push people back into the process for them to adopt it as well. Step 5 is documenting everything we just like went over in steps 2 and 3. So all of our tasks as well as the stakeholders and SLAs. At this point, I also want to like recognize that it's important to just put like a responsible team or responsible party rather than a specific person's name. This allows the documentation to have more longevity and move on without having to be updated when people are out of office or leave the team, unfortunately. And then step 6, rolling out and monitoring. You'll want to notify all the stakeholders and that we're in step 1. And then I want to create a doc that people can leave feedback in about the process or the process doc so that I can track that and update it along the way. And now we're ready to roll out our new intake process and move quicker, smoother, get our things in one place, answer all my questions in one place. And then also I've got a clear SLA that this is going to take 15 business days to complete from start to finish, and then an additional 3 days for the analysis. So now I want to open it up to a little Q&A for the remainder of the time before leaving you with a few thoughts at the end.
Yeah, hi Phil. I had a couple questions. I'm just for the audience. Remember to put your questions in the Q&A box below the chat. You should be able to find it right around here. So I guess my first question, how do you deal with the inevitable ad hoc, I need this to go out tomorrow, forget the process scenario, or do you build the process for that exact scenario?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with any process, I think it's very important to have the fire drill version of the process. It's super abbreviated and super condensed. So like I said, this one took like 15 days for an intake. There's going to be requests that come in that you need tomorrow, that you need today. And so having all those steps identified and how to like complete them faster is like very important. So having like a template on the side that you can just like drop copy into to take out the creative 8 days, for example, in the intake process will be really important to have to like condense some of that time. Being able to make time in your schedule to like drop everything and like do this request is also something I try to like leave a little buffer room in for. Some days are easier than others to do that because some days are full of meetings. We all get busy, but having that buffer in there is like, I think, important, and just like being able to have that what if fire drill scenario of your process setup is important to have.
And knowing who all the sign off people are, right? That's always a
Sorry,
key
what was that again?
Knowing who has to sign off when you're in the middle of your fire drill.
Exactly.
So what about you mentioned someone sending you stuff maybe through Confluence, someone sending you stuff through Slack, maybe through email. Do you recommend people implement some type of project management software to help align these systems, or is it a Google form that you create and it's like fill out the information and that's the only intake we listen to unless it's the fire drill scenario? What's that scenario like? What's that look like, in your world, or your thoughts in the ideal world?
Yeah. So when I say like getting all your answers in one place, it can be as simple as a Google form. I use a Google form right now. I used a Google form when I was at Rover in the past. It makes things really easy. It's super customizable. If you want to get like fancier, you can like do smart sheets and have a form connected in smart sheets and have it populate into a smart sheet so you can triage it, where you get an email and all this stuff. But it's honestly not that important to do that, as long as you have a form of some way that like can be shareable to other cross-functional partners and the request gets to you and you get all your answers rather than having to hunt them down, ask follow-up questions. Like that's going to happen sometimes. There'll be some unique requests that come through, but if you can like cover the 90% and like you can filter out the other 10%, like ask those questions and make time for that, So yeah, just a simple Google form is like good to go. Be really diligent, like making sure you're getting all your questions answered there.
Okay, and then sorry, I just had a question and it totally spaced on me. Oh, where'd you? I've lost the question. Oh no, I had it too.
No worries.
Oh geez. You know what? Why don't you move into your final thoughts because we only have about 3 minutes left, and if I
Oh
come
yeah.
up with it, I'll ask you at the end.
Oh yeah.
This is why Phil says you have to have a process, Matthew.
I did have a process, but like it was.
Process. We could write down the question.
I actually I do write down my questions as I'm thinking about them, but this was one that while you were speaking, it came into my head, and then I was
Yeah.
listening to your answer, and then it left.
Oh
So
yeah.
let me think on it for a second.
Oh yeah, it happens to me all the time. Yeah, so I just want to leave you all with a few final thoughts of process isn't like something that's new to any of us. You all have it around you in your life. You've all created your own processes, whether you recognize it as a formalized process or not. And I can't jump into the screen and hop on your team and like help you with your process. But like I said, you have it within you to like save yourself, save your time, save your mind. And that's what I wanted to leave you with today.
Okay, the question didn't come back, but being that you're a plant lover,
Hey,
I'm
what we
going to
got?
show you these. These
So
are
look,
my avocados.
oh, nice. You started
Right.
from the seed.
Yeah, right from Pitt.
Very, very nice.
So
My previous roommate has one that's like 5 feet tall.
I have two others that are about 3 feet tall each in another
Nice.
room. So these are just the new ones. They need the window. So what else do you grow? What are your other plants that you grow? I'm going to ask that because we have a minute before our next.
Oh
speaker.
yeah. I have like tons of pothos. I propagated a Monstera Swiss cheese plant, the one with like all the holes in it and
Yep.
everything.
Yeah, we got one of those beautiful plants.
Yeah, and I just like moved to a new place that has tons of windows, and like now my plants are like spreading out from like the one window that they had before. I had a plant wall with like 40 plants behind me.
Yeah.
Also really love prayer plants that are called calatheas, and they like go up and down throughout the day, which is like really cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I might have to hit you up for that spreadsheet on how to take care of them now. I've recently killed a whole bunch of plants. The other ones that I grow really hot peppers. I grow ghost peppers,
Ooh.
Carolina Reapers. I'm
Yeah.
going Tabasco peppers for the first time this year. Jalapenos, and then I dry them out and then I cook with them.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what do you do with ghost chili peppers just on the regular?
I dry them out and I save them. I give some to my neighbors who love them. I give some to my brother-in-law who loves them. And then, yeah, I dry them out and I make chili flakes with them. I put them in chilies. I love the hot stuff. My wife, not so much. So
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be a good season for them now. That's chili season.
that's absolutely right. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Phil, for your
Thank
time
you.
today. Great session.